Hello, my name is Xavier Waldhoff-Born. I'm a PhD student at Ghent University and I study equity crowdfunding. So when I started my PhD, I was already totally fascinated by the crowdfunding phenomenon. At that point in time, different media were picking up the crowdfunding phenomenon, as well as different crowdfunding platforms were popping up in Belgium. Well, I find that most intriguing because we knew relatively nothing about equity crowdfunding at that point in time. So when I was exploring the literature, I found out that most research was focusing on the determinants of successfully raising equity crowdfunding. For example, they were focusing on to what extent that the social capital and the human capital of entrepreneurs influence the outcome of the crowdfunding campaign. However, I was mostly intrigued by which ventures were actually searching for equity crowdfunding. For example, whether they are searching for equity crowdfunding as a first resort or whether they were searching for crowdfunding as a last resort. Because entrepreneurial ventures or entrepreneurs can look for different types of funding. They can fund their campaigns via internal financing. However, they can also search for debt financing and also private capital, such as business angels or venture capital financing. So in this paper, we mainly focused on to what extent that entrepreneurial ventures were searching for equity crowdfunding as a last resort or a first resort. Because of the availability of data, we focused on the UK setting. The UK was a pioneer in crowdfunding. They had an early supportive regulation and legislation. And besides, they also have like a public register where companies are obliged, micro companies and small companies are obliged to register their public accounts on that platform. In line with other research, we choose Crowdcube as a crowdfunding platform in the UK. So in the UK you have like different crowdfunding platforms. However, Crowdcube is one of the main platforms since the beginning of the equity crowdfunding setting in the UK. So we use the Wayback Machine in order to retrieve the entire database of ventures that were listed on that platform. And next, we matched these firms with ventures that didn't list on Crowdcube. Moreover, we looked to what extent that these ventures weren't listed on other crowdfunding platforms via media and other channels. So what we found is that ventures that were searching for equity crowdfunding do so as a last resort. Those ventures have typically, on average, a higher amount of losses. Do also have like exceeded debt capacity and also have like more intangible assets. The topic is of course very timely and therefore of relevance to the crowd, entrepreneurs and also policymakers. And that was probably one of the reasons that our research was picked up by Forbes website. Our research shows that ventures are typically searching for, or on average are searching for equity crowdfunding as a last resort. So these investments are highly risky for the crowd, and therefore they might want to consider a portfolio approach. Moreover, they might consider asking questions about financial performance, about the asset base and about debt history before investing in these ventures. Our findings are also important for entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs should take into account that raising equity crowdfunding can be a double-edged sword. So when we looked in our database, we found out that about 40% of the ventures actually didn't succeed in raising equity crowdfunding, and shortly thereafter they have a higher propensity of failure. So they might want to consider taking into account different alternatives as well. Our study is also of importance for policymakers. The issue of adverse selection increases when there's information asymmetry between the entrepreneur and the investor, and therefore policymakers may want to create an ecosystem where information about young ventures and entrepreneurs are publicly available for those investors that are interested in investing in these companies. So if you're interested in our study, you can easily download our paper in the link below. Thank you for watching.